Welcome back. A Fox News alert for you. ISIS now claiming responsibility for the carnage in Barcelona, the deadliest attack in Spain since the Madrid railway bombings in 2004.
Yeah, so are open borders to blame for the terror group's stronghold in this country and in other places too, like France? Joining us now to weigh in, the president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. Dr. Jasser, thanks so much for coming on this morning.
It's good to be with you, Rob. Thank you.
To talk a little bit about, let's first bring up this statement from the State Department on Spain's open borders. This is a statement that came before this attack, actually. According to our State Department, Spain's open borders with its Western European neighbors allow possible terror groups to enter and exit the country with anonymity. Is that a fair statement?
Well, absolutely. There's no doubt that if you look at even statistics and polling of the exodus of refugees from Syria show 20% sympathy with ISIS. And having said that, though, you're going to find, I think one of these attackers was born in Spain, and we find most of the attackers are actually radicalized on our homeland. But also having said that, we don't want to be allowing more inflow in, because the problem is happening from those who immigrate here not to enjoy our values, not to share what it means to be Spanish or to be American, but actually to want to establish a theocratic Islamic State globally. So we have to counter that ideology first before we allow the influx of those who may not share our values.
Dr. Jasser, a few hours ago, the Spanish Prime Minister referred to this as jihadi terrorism. Was he correct in doing so?
Absolutely, because we can't begin the process of the ideology that we need to counter unless we identify a diagnosis and then begin to treat it. If you just call it violent extremism, which has been the mantra of most Homeland Security so far, it's just a behavior, it's just a symptom, it's a tactic like terrorism. We have to identify it as Islamist terror. Jihadization is the process in which a American, a Spaniard, a British Muslim becomes bonded to the Islamic State, becomes bonded to the jihad of that nationality globally, of wanting to establish a caliphate. The only reason I wasn't radicalized is the only country, the only entity I'd ever die for is America. That's why I joined the Navy. Those are the Muslims that we need to bond with and begin to lift up and push forth. Not only say that we're fighting terrorism, which is a behavior that we're going to miss. I mean, these guys, because we weren't following the non-violent portion of Islamism, we were waiting for the violent part. We're not going to know when all of a sudden they decide to hurl their vehicle into a innocent mob. You can't prevent somebody from driving a car through a group of people. You can prevent a plane from crashing into a tower. You can prevent a bomb with dogs and stuff like that. But somebody taking a car and driving it through people, you can't prevent. And the administration has actually made what I thought was a very good point when they said that we need other Muslims. We need the imams. We need the Muslim leaders to come out real strong against this kind of behavior and just basically lay it out there. We need to give them a huge venue to say, hey, if you do this, you're going to rot in hell. This is not going to be your ticket to paradise. This is nonsense, and they need to come out strong against it. What do you say to that? And that is so important, which is it's not just a counter and critique and condemn the act itself, but the precursors. These guys don't all of a sudden self-combust into radicals. The ideology from the imams of anti-Semitism, of anti-Westernism, of blaming the West, of being anti-Muslim bigots, and all these other victimology and grievance-mongering organizations that radicalize our community. These drivers drove through the crowd and ended right in front of a kosher market. I don't think that's a coincidence that they were targeting that market, because anti-Semitism, as we saw an imam in Southern California who had a screed just a month ago screaming anti-Semitism about the Temple Mount and other things, which we tried to expose in our Muslim reform movement, and the media wanted to ignore. Let him give an apology, which was, not really, I think, honest. And at the end of the day, these are the precursors. Yes, you can prevent these acts if we actually follow the ideas and the pools that they're swimming in, which is anti-Semitic, anti-American, and against our values that we share as Westerners.
Dr. Jasser, we have to wrap up. Thank you so much. Didn't have time to ask you about the muscular liberalism. Wanted to ask you about that as well, but we appreciate your insight this morning. Thank you.
Anytime.